Hello and welcome to Comic Drake, where I talk about comic books. My name is Drake. Marvel has a lot of random dimensions that are used in oddly specific ways for some characters' powers, such as the Brimstone dimension that Nightcrawler travels through when he teleports, and the Punch dimension that Cyclops' eyes may or may not be portals to. Regardless, two of the most noteworthy out there are the Lightforce and Darkforce dimensions, so let's take a look at them today. The Darkforce Dimension, not to be confused with the Dark Dimension, the home of Dormammu, has been pretty inconsistent in its depiction. Sometimes it's nothing but darkness, an unending realm devoid of light, space, time, or really anything. Other times it's just an empty world of eternal night, but there is some light and ground. Regardless, the Darkforce Dimension is filled with massless dark energy that's also called Dark Force, which makes it difficult to explain when you're trying to differentiate between the energy and the actual place. This energy can be channeled into the physical world to essentially do whatever the writers want, since its properties aren't really well defined outside of that it usually absorbs whatever's thrown at it. Generally though, the main application of Dark Force powers is teleportation and the creation of constructs, kind of like a Green Lantern. By opening up portals into the Dark Force dimension, characters like Cloak can transport themselves and or others pretty much anywhere. Or you can just be like one of my all-time favorite Marvel characters, Doorman, and just teleport people to the other side of a thing. Yeah, you heard me right. There is a character called Doorman whose main power is standing next to something and letting people walk through him like a door. Man. Now, people can get trapped in the Dark Force dimension, and it's pretty freaking scary when they do. Since light is absorbed pretty much instantly, someone trapped there is surrounded by constant darkness. Since time doesn't really exist, they just float around aimlessly for all of eternity. That, coupled with the fact that the Dark Force dimension is notoriously cold, and that's enough to drive most people insane. This darkness can be countered by an extreme excess of light, however, as we've seen Spectrum, a being of living light, see well enough to navigate the Dark Force dimension, and Dagger light up all of New York City when it was trapped in a Dark Force dome. Don't worry though, there is a chance to escape the dimension if you're trapped in it. Every time that Dark Force is manipulated in the physical world, it opens up a portal. If you're skilled enough, you might just be able to use these brief windows to make a break for it. The source of Dark Force is unknown, but apparently on Earth 3470, it's from an elder god named Chernabog. However, it seems unlikely that this could be the case in the mainstream Earth 616 universe as well, since alternate universes seem to have their own rules for the Dark Force dimension, as seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yet, while the Chernabog of Earth 616 doesn't seem linked to the Dark Force, it has been connected to another powerful being. This is Oblivion, an abstract cosmic entity that personifies non-existence and the end of creation, so it makes sense why he'd hang out there. Okay, so that is a pretty thorough explanation of Dark Force, at least from what I've been able to find. But there's still one big detail missing. Both Cloak and Dagger's powers are tied together really well. Cloak teleports and Dagger throws daggers made out of hard light. Now, most light-based characters in Marvel Comics just straight up use regular light, but it's been explicitly stated that Dagger uses what is known as Light Force. This seems relatively straightforward considering that it's implied that the Light Force is just the opposite of the Dark Force, especially since it's been repeatedly stated that Cloak and Dagger's light and darkness feed off each other sort of like a yin-yang effect. An issue arises though with a Spider-Man villain named Mr. Negative, who channels both light and dark forces inside of him, giving him the ability to invert people that he touches. When he fought Cloak and Dagger, he inverted their powers along with their origins. This makes it to where Dagger now throws solidified dark force, and Cloak now presumably teleports through a light force dimension. There's only one problem though. There isn't a Light Force dimension in any confirmed sense. I think the main reason behind this is simple. While Cloak's ability can literally take you to the source of his powers, Dagger's power mostly just lets her create solidified Light Force. Where they come from didn't really matter, so it wasn't explained. However, it was stated in the past that Dagger's constructs are manifestations of the life force that exists within all living beings, but it's not really known if this was retconned when the term light force started being thrown around. Honestly, Cloak and Dagger haven't really made a whole lot of appearances in the modern era of comics, so where they stand in modern canon is kind of unexplained and left up to interpretation. Regardless of where Dagger's energy originates from, the physical application of light force seems to be pretty much the same as its counterpart. The main exception though is that light force has the ability to heal and purify things. things. The biggest example of this was when Mr. Negative used his powers to cure Eddie Brock's cancer left by the Venom symbiote. This reversed the problem, but created the anti-Venom symbiote in the process. The dimensions also seem to border on a couple of others in the Marvel Universe, including the Realm of Dreams, which is ruled over by the Doctor Strange villain Nightmare. More notably, however, is the Spotted Dimension that fuels the power of a villain named the Spot. It was accessed when trying to duplicate Cloak's connection to the Darkforce Dimension, which would seem to imply that this Spotted Dimension exists somewhere between both the light and dark forces. And that's essentially it for these two forces. Originally, I was going to make this video as an excuse to learn all that I could about the Dark Force, since I've seen it pop up in Marvel Comics multiple times. Yet, when I started researching this, I was kind of surprised with how underdeveloped the concept really is. Usually for older concepts like these, Marvel and DC tend to talk about them in great detail, fleshing them out to sometimes ludicrously obnoxious degrees. But because there's so much left unsaid, I am really excited to see what future writers can do with the Light Force and the Dark Force, and shape them into something bigger moving forward. But if you like this video, then why not consider subscribing, or even watching another one? And if you like Marvel concepts that aren't really talked about all that much, then I would recommend the video that I did on Marvel's vampires. I think they're incredibly underrated and are this amazing facet of Marvel Comics that generally isn't discussed. Anyway, I hope you learned at least a little something new, and maybe I'll see you next time.